Tensions are rising in West Africa. The Niger military junta that seized power last week and ousted democratically elected President Mohamed Bazoum is now at the receiving end of international condemnation. Barely hours after West African nations issued a week-long ultimatum to the coup leaders, the European Union and the United States have also called the military junta to halt their coup and return President Mohamed Bazoum to office. The decision to apply sanctions was first taken by the West African regional bloc, ECOWAS. Meanwhile, the European Union has announced that it will quickly and resolutely apply the decision to impose economic sanctions on Niger. EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said that the bloc will hold Niger's junta responsible for all attacks. This includes attacks on civilian diplomatic personnel as well as embassies. To pile on, the British government has decided to halt its long-term development assistance to the war-torn nation. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also welcomed what he called the strong leadership of ECOWAS to defend constitutional order in Niger. The pivotal move comes a week after the military junta seized power in Niger. They blocked now ousted President Mohamed Bazoum inside the presidential palace. In a fresh development, Niger's junta is alleging that the toppled government had authorized France to carry out strikes on the presidency in an attempt to free Bazoum. One of the coup plotters, Colonel Abdulrahman, levied the allegations on state television, and meanwhile, coup leaders have earlier warned against foreign attempts to extract Bazoum, saying it will result in bloodshed and chaos. France has condemned the coup and urged that Bazoum be reinstated. However, Nigeria's former colonel ruler has not announced any intention to intervene militarily. Remember, this is Nigeria's 8th attempted coup since its decolonization in the 1960s. It is also Africa's 10th successful military coup just within the last 3 years. Countries in the region, the Sahel, are now collectively known as Africa's coup land or coup belt. The high number of coups in the area is often linked to the presence of extremist militant groups. Analysts are of the view that corruption and poverty left after France's exit have further deteriorated the state of affairs. Additionally, the belt also has a vast abundance of resources, including oil and mineral deposits. Meanwhile, Al-Qaeda and its Somali variation, Al-Shabaab, are still operating in the country. And not only this, Wagner Group chief Prigozhin has openly hailed Nigeria's military coup as good news. The Russian mercenary group is already operating in neighboring Mali, and its boss has offered his fighters service to the country. Moreover, the current situation has opened doors for the likes of the Wagner mercenary group to enter the fray and further strengthen their grip on Africa. For more on this, we are being joined by Edward P. Joseph from Washington, D.C. He is a senior fellow at the Johns Hopkins University, as well as a foreign policy analyst. Edward, welcome back, and good to see you. Well, this is devastating news here, considering the fact that Nigeria is being isolated, and some say that it's ultimately the people that are going to suffer the most, not only because of the internal unrest, but also because it's being, given up on in a way.
Correct. Of course, it's always the people who suffer when there's political instability. And as your report indicated, there's been instability significant in this region, including in Niger's neighbors, in Burkina Faso and in Mali. And this is a significant concern, not just for France, but the United States as well. Both France and the United States have bases in Niger. We've seen as your report indicated, the support that the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, has given to the ECOWAS group, that the regional African group that has condemned the coup and indicated quite significantly that all necessary measures could be taken to restore President Bazoum back to his position. Now, what's interesting is the intervention here by neighboring Chad, whose own president, Deby, has come and has succeeded at least in meeting with the ousted Nigerian president. And that is at least some positive indicator. We know that Bazoum is alive. And we know that Debbie has succeeded in at least meeting with him, which suggests that there's some acknowledgement, some awareness on the part of the coup leaders of the fact that outside groupings, including ECOWAS, the United States, and France, are quite concerned about this situation. Please.
Edward, also, China has a strong foothold in the African continent. We know this, but now, and it's no secret that Wagner also was, around every time something like this happened. How concerning is this for the United States and its allies, the European Union, as we talked about earlier, that perhaps the Wagner group will step in and just make things worse? And China's, of course, watching from behind.
You're right on both accounts. The potential role of the Wagner group in this is a matter of major concern, as is China's role. We know China's approach to investment, and that's in Africa and in the Middle East. It's its approach to winning friends and influencing countries is no questions asked. So Chinese money comes with no questions asked about domestic governance, about corruption. In fact, often fosters corruption. The only question asked is about the debt that the country incurs to China, and therefore the debt trap that it has and the leverage that then China has over those countries that enter into such agreements with China. But China doesn't care about the democratic progress in any of these countries because, of course, its own system is completely anti-democratic. As for the Wagner Group, yes, as your report indicated, Mr. Prigozhin has cheered this. It's not clear, actually, whether Wagner Group was involved or just is from the sidelines supporting this. But either way, it is a concern if the coup leaders have been or do seek support from Wagner Group. But obviously, its abilities are uncertain in the wake of the attempted mutiny that Mr. Prigozhin waged in Russia. And of course, the demands caused by Vladimir Putin's catastrophic war in Ukraine that has drawn in the Wagner Group there. So we just don't know the full extent of Wagner Group involvement. Please.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for that. Always great talking to you, and looking forward to speaking to you again very soon. Edward P. Joseph joining us from Washington, D.C.
Thank you.